You are about to access a classified explainer file. And honestly, I have to warn you right up front, the content we're decoding today exposes the terrifying, totally invisible mechanics of psychological manipulation. We are peeling back the curtain on exactly how cults brainwash completely normal people. And look, this isn't just dusty history. This is dark psychology in action right now. The urgency of getting this information out there really can't be overstated. We're going to look at the exact blueprints these groups use to capture minds.
Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, but that would never happen to me. Well, I want to aggressively confront that idea right out of the gate. Because every single person who ever joined a cult, who ever literally gave away their entire life, their life savings, their very identity, they thought that exact same phrase right before they fell into the trap. And unfortunately, they were wrong. You see, that arrogance, it's the absolute greatest illusion of immunity. We all like to sit back and think we're just too smart, too grounded, or too self-aware to be manipulated like that. But I really need to shatter that false sense of security for you. That specific belief that you are somehow immune, that is exactly the blind spot that makes you completely vulnerable to them.
When we dig into leaked archive files, they reveal a pretty terrifying truth about these predators. Cult leaders actually do not target the weak. They don't want the desperate, and they don't want the gullible. They actively hunt the highly intelligent. They go after the idealistic. They look for the lonely. They are hunting for seekers. In short, they are actively targeting people exactly like you.
So, how do they do it? Well, there are 5 very specific psychological stages to this descent. We start with the initial lure, move into reality isolation, then manufacturing the enemy, weaponized vulnerability, and finally the ultimate point of no return, identity replacement. Let's dive right into stage 1, love bombing. So love bombing is essentially the strategic exploitation of a really fundamental human need, our need to belong. When you first encounter the group, you aren't hit with weird rituals or crazy demands right away. No, you are met with this intense warmth, absolute acceptance, and just overwhelming validation. The group makes you feel incredibly special, basically convincing you that after all your searching, you have finally found your people. But here's the catch. This whole honeymoon phase is a meticulously designed trap. The warmth you're feeling, it isn't real. It's a highly calculated tactic. And honestly, the most terrifying part is that by the time this manufactured warmth finally disappears, the trap has already completely closed around you. You're in way too deep before you even realize there's a door you need to walk out of. Take Jim Jones, for example. He built the People's Temple on this exact foundation. He initially offered this incredible illusion of community, racial equality, and a higher purpose. I mean, he offered exactly what idealistic people were absolutely starving for back in the 1960s and 70s. He provided all that intense warmth and meaning long before he ever revealed the absolute darkness hiding underneath it all.
Which brings us to stage 2, information control.
Once you're inside, they have to systematically sever your ties to the outside world. Suddenly, the outside world becomes the enemy. All external media dismissed as lies designed just to test your faith. Your family? Well, they just don't understand your new spiritual growth. And your old friends are suddenly labeled as a literal danger to your progress. Because think about it, when you only receive information from one single source, that source becomes your entire universe. We saw this clearly with Heaven's Gate. Their followers famously cut off all outside contact completely, isolating themselves physically and mentally. Meanwhile, NXIVM, which operated as a professional development group, strictly forbade its members from ever discussing internal teachings with outsiders. By totally controlling the flow of information, they completely control your reality. Now we get to stage 3, us versus them. Cult leaders desperately need an enemy. Without a villain, there is no us. So they heavily engineer a massive contrast. Inside the group, you're told there is safety, ultimate truth, and survival. But outside, the government, the media, former members, non-believers, they are all artificially constructed as the ultimate enemy, full of lies and imminent danger. To really understand the power of this, just look at Charles Manson. He didn't just ask his followers to stick around, he literally convinced them that a violent apocalyptic race war was coming and that only his family would survive it. By manufacturing this massive, terrifying threat, he guaranteed absolute dependency. Because when you truly believe the outside world is about to destroy you, who else do you have to turn to but the group? Next up is stage 4, confession and surveillance.
A lot of these cults require mandatory deep confessions. And at first it feels incredible, right? Like this profound spiritual healing, trust, and a massive emotional release. But the reality is actually far darker. These aren't innocent spiritual exercises. They're highly calculated operations. They are actively gathering classified blackmail, creating a surveillance state, and stockpiling collateral just to enforce total control over you. NXIVM is a prime, terrifying example of this dark psychology. They systematically collected compromising material. We're talking deep secrets, confessions, and even explicit photographs. They dressed this highly classified blackmail up in the really innocent, validating language of self-improvement. But the goal was dead simple. If you ever try to leave the group, all that material gets released. It is quite literally a psychological hostage situation. And that leads us to the final, most devastating phase. Stage 5, identity replacement. Now, this kind of erasure doesn't just happen overnight. Day 1 is the lore, that intense warmth we talked about. Month 1 brings the isolation, cutting you off from everyone. By year 1, they've got your confessions and collateral. But years later, the ultimate goal is finally achieved, the complete chronological erasure of your identity. This is the true end game. Identity replacement. Your name, your history, your core beliefs, they're all replaced by whatever the cult assigns to you. The person who originally joined, they no longer exist. It is a completely horrifying truth. Everything that actually made you you has been entirely overwritten by the leader's programming. The testimonies we have from those who actually managed to escape are just deeply, deeply unsettling. Survivors of the People's Temple have described looking at photographs of themselves from before they joined and literally not recognizing the person staring back at them. Former Heaven's Gate members speak of waking up years later with absolutely zero sense of who they once were. The psychological wipe is really that complete. Which begs a deeply disturbing question for all of us. If they can completely erase who you are, what exactly would this new person do for the leader? The answer is terrifying. Because the person standing in your place is now a replaced, hollowed-out version of you, and they will do absolutely anything, literally anything at all, that the leader commands them to do. You see, cults don't begin with darkness. They always begin with the promise of light. And by the time you realize you've been replaced, leaving feels completely impossible. Knowledge is genuinely your only protection against this forbidden psychology. Will you be able to recognize the trap before the door completely closes? Subscribe to Dark Archive right now to protect yourself and help us uncover the buried history they definitely never taught you in school. Every week, a new file is decoded. The archive is okay.